All right, today we're going to talk about canning meat, in this case venison. I've pre-cut my meat, and this is from a big old buck, a deer that's relatively strong or a little bit tougher. You can take that meat, and when you pressure cook it at those extreme temperatures, it really tenderizes that meat, and again, it changes the taste of that. And I've cut it into chunks and cut all the fat off. I'm doing pint jars today, and I'm going to put this meat raw into the jar. And again, this is called raw packing, and that word in itself bothers some people. It's going to cook for 75 minutes under extreme temperatures and pressure. And that cooks everything out of that. Anything that you might have a problem with will be taken care of with that pressure cooking. You pack that meat in there nice and tight, and you'll leave about an inch headspace at the top. I've got it packed nice and tight. I take about a half a teaspoon. I use kosher salt, put in the top of that. And again, you don't have to put water. The juices will come out of the meat. Also, my jars have been sterilized. My lids have, and I make sure that the lid itself has no irregularities on it. I'll put the top on that. This is what makes your seal when you're cooking. I'm gonna take this top, I'm gonna hand tighten it on there, and I'll repeat this process. And I can fix as big a batch or as small a batch as I want. And that's your jar ready to go into your pressure cooker. All right, now check your manual carefully. This particular cooker, I'm going to need 3 quarts of water in. All right, at this point, I'll go ahead and set my jars down in the pressure cooker. But I'll take these jars and put them in there, not touching. Always have your rack on the bottom. You see that round piece that holds everything up off the bottom. Always have that in there. I'm going to set these out evenly. Now that just happens to be the size of the batch of meat that I cut up. All right, now there's a seal inside this lid, that black thing. Make sure that, that it's not dry rotted or anything like that. Make sure your seal's good. And if you use it a lot, eventually you may have to replace it. I mean, a whole lot. Now, there's a couple things here that you need to check on before you put your lid on. Make sure your vent, your steam vent, is clear. I looked through that hole to make sure there's nothing that blocked that. That's where the pressure comes out. If you get that blocked, you got trouble. And make sure your vent right here is in the down position. Okay, now I'm going to seal this. Make sure everything seems good and tight. I've checked this, my pressure release, to make sure that there's nothing blocking that. This is in the down position. Again, that will pop up when the pressure's in. Now on this, to control the amount of pounds of pressure, that's 5 pounds pressure. With this little ring, it's 10. With the next one, it would be 15, but today we're going for the 10, so we're not going to put that on there yet, but that's just showing you how that works. That's 10 pounds pressure on this cooker. I'm going to let this get warm. I've turned the heat on high. I'm going to let this get warm, very warm. Now this particular pressure cooker is a 16-quart Presto pressure cooker. Now this pressure cooker is for canning. You can cook meat and you can cook whole chicken there if you want. But a lot of people have their little pressure cooker that's just for cooking a chicken or things like that at home. You got to have a canning unit to do this, and that's what this is. And when I start to see steam come out of the release, out of the vent, and you'll know when that's coming out, it'll be very obvious. You'll see steam coming out. And after steam comes out for about 10 minutes, then I'll put my 10 pounds of pressure on top of that. At this point, I wait. Now that means that you got plenty of pressure in there. That pops up. That's what we're looking for right there. Once that starts rolling, we start our timer. This will go 1 hour and 15 minutes. If you were doing quarts, you would go 90 minutes. Again, these are pints, 75 minutes. It's been 75 minutes. Going to turn this heat off. Going to give that a few minutes to cool down. Now we'll wait for this little pressure tab to go down. Once that goes down, we'll take the weight off. Aha! All right, now we know sufficient pressure is off of this now. All right, now I do believe that we've got sufficient pressure off this. It won't blow it through the roof. Now we know that we're good to go. Be careful because steam will come out of there. When you look in, you'll see that they're still cooking. And what we'll do is take each jar very carefully and take those and set those out on the counter on a rag. We'll let those cool. It lasts just as long as it does in the freezer. And if your freezer is getting really, really full and you need another place to store some meat, hey, you can put it on shelves in a cool, dark place and it's good to go for up to 2 years, maybe more. And now we'll wait for the can to pop. This thing creates a seal. You'll hear them pop as the seal goes down. Now that's when you know it's sealed. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and melt me about a half a stick of butter here. I'm gonna go ahead and start my noodles. I'm gonna do about 3 cups worth. I'm gonna put my onions in there. Now I'm gonna take 1 clove of garlic. I'm gonna put it in my garlic press. Now as I squeeze this, the garlic comes out, and it's just enough to let these get nice and translucent. The biggest time-consuming part of any recipe of this nature is cooking the meat until it gets tender. Well, we don't have that problem because we've already got meat that is canned that is tender. So all we have to do is get the other ingredients ready to go, dump the meat in, and we're good to go. That's the beauty of canned meat. All right, we have got our onions just beautifully browned. Just takes a few minutes to do that. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a cup of beef broth. We're gonna take mushrooms. I've got about 1.5 cups of mushrooms. How much you wanna put, more or less. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of cracked pepper in here, just a dash. I'm gonna take some Worcestershire sauce, put about a tablespoon in there. I'm gonna take my meat with the juice in it, and I'm gonna dump that in there. And it's already tender, and I leave the juice in it. Look how it just breaks apart. You know how long you would have to cook that to get that like that? Let that come up to a boil. All right, we're gonna mix up 1/2 cup of broth, 1/4 cup of flour. That makes our sauce nice and thick. And just a tad of white wine. And once that boils and got a nice little thickness to it, I'm gonna take me 1.5 cups of sour cream on a lower heat. I don't want this to boil. I'll drain my noodles. Okay, I poured my stroganoff, my venison stroganoff, over the noodles. Topped it off with just a little bit of parsley. And I'm telling you what, anytime you need a stew, a soup, stroganoff, or anything like this, it's already cooked. It takes the recipe time and cuts it in half, maybe more. And guess what? It's delicious.